Televiewers, greetings and welcome to another edition of This Week. I want to use this occasion to wish you a happy New Year 2013. When Walter Mondale, one-time American Vice President, described the new information and communication technology as the information superhighway, it meant very little to many people at that time. But today, it is becoming more and more a reality. The information superhighway. The world is becoming a global village, a small unit. From the North Pole to the South Pole, you can get information in just a matter of seconds. This is all thanks to the information and communication technology. In today's edition of This Week, we shall be focusing on the innovations, the evolution of the new information and communication technology, with emphasis on a new system created by a Cameroonian, Dr. William Tasong. He shall be talking to us about logistics management and also the data interchange software and services. Besides that, we shall be discussing other issues. You remember? Televiewers, you're welcome back to the program. As earlier announced, today we shall be looking at the evolution of the new information and communication technology. How has it helped to change mankind, our ways of reasoning today? And with me as guest today is Dr. William Tasong. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Azideriva. It is a software systems program that has been put in place to facilitate business. Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we're glad to welcome you to today's edition of the program.
It's my pleasure to be with you today.
Yeah, the new information and communication technology is gradually creeping into Africa, and one of the routes it is using to creep into Africa is through you, as we can see today.
That's correct. And as you earlier mentioned, the world is now a global village, and that means that businesses can operate from one part of the world and supply consumers in another part of the world. And to do that, you need to have good, efficient information technology and communication in place to be able to effectively manage that kind of business in transcontinental manner.
In the past, when we hear of the North Pole, it sounds vague. When we hear of wars, it sounds as if it is not close to us. But today, with a click of a button, if they say there is somebody has been shot in Iran, within 5 minutes, we are already seeing it in Cameroon, and all this is thanks to the information and communication technology.
You're correct. So, and one of the key aspects is that, unfortunately, Africa and Cameroon, as many other African countries, are still lagging behind on this technology. And so, there is obviously a very great need that we should try and catch up with the rest of the world by automating and more or less computerizing some of the processes that we do in our day-to-day lives. Yeah,
as you say, Africa is still lagging behind in this information and communication technology. Are they lagging behind simply because it was created by the white man and brought to us, or they are lagging behind because they yet don't see the importance of it?
I think it's a kind of a mixture of everything, to be honest, because obviously for you to be able to implement all these technology solutions, you need the expertise and the skills, and the Western countries are already ahead, and they have a lot of skill set within themselves, and it's so easy for them to more or less implement and use all this advanced technology to move forward a lot faster. Unlike in Africa, we don't seem to have the resources available to be able to help us do that. And secondly, the majority of the people obviously are not in a position to use a computer to do business, so that means that we need to also be looking at putting more emphasis on training our youths to be more computer literate.
Yeah, today we shall be looking at this logistic management and the financial control, which you invented. Should I say you invented, you created, you initiated?
I think anything that goes with that, yes, an invention is a creation, and it's a mix of everything.
And also the data interchange software and services.
That's correct. So
now let's begin from the first one, logistic management and financial control. What is it all about?
Yes, the Azideriva logistic management and financial control software is a piece of solution that enables businesses to be able to automate the processes of doing business. And when I say automate the processes of doing business, I mean being able to computerize most of the steps that are involved in actually doing their business. For example, if we take a local soap manufacturing company, that soap manufacturing company would normally purchase stock to be able to prepare soap. And so they'll be processing things like oil. That soap company will also be paying staff, and they will also be packaging the goods. And then at the end of the day, the customer will come in, place an order, and the soap company will have to process that order. Just imagine you having to do that on a piece of paper and a pen. It will become very complicated, first of all, and then in the process, you will not be able to keep to the standards that are required in doing business. So with the Azideriva financial logistics management and control software, you're able to, at any particular moment in time, automate the process of your inventory. You're able to automate the process of raising and processing your orders. You're also able to automate the process of raising invoice and processing payments. And that's not all. The system also allows you and enables you to do all the accounting controls that take place when you do a transaction. Say, for example, what was the cost of the goods that you bought, or the cost of the raw materials that you bought to manufacture the soap? What was the actual sales that you do, the revenue that you obtain at the sales point? What was the VAT that you collected in terms of tax? What was the discount you gave away? So the system automatically do all the journal entries, all the account postings, and you're able to, at the end of the day, prepare a trial balance that shows what revenue you've got, what expenses you had, what is your liability, what are the expenses, what are the your equity, what is the profit you've got. And again, you are also able to, at any particular moment in time, using the Azideriva logistics software, know your stock situation. So how much goods did I buy from the start? How much quantity did I sell? How much have I got left in stock?
That sounds quite academic, and I begin to ask myself whether our old mothers and fathers back in the village whose daily lives turns around subsistence need this type of sophisticated technology.
And again, obviously, then we come back again to saying, why is Africa lagging behind? Because we cannot continue to use the same approach of subsistence living that our great-great-fathers lived 100-200 years ago. So we need to try and adapt and be able to improve those processes. Say, for example, instead of our old mothers or our grandmothers in the villages doing those manual little tiny processes on their own, they can form a cooperative union, and by so doing, they can manage their stock as a little cooperative and be able to commercialize the activity and more or less get more profit out of it.
And tell me, doctor, what is so peculiar, what is so particular about this system?
The key things about this system is that, first of all, we make sure that the system is developed to enable any user and any company that is using Azideriva logistics software to implement and manage their processes in a more efficient and a more highly specialized and skillful manner. And by so doing, we introduce accounting bespoke practices into the system of managing those processes. So is that, like I say, at any particular moment in time, a business can know the situation of their stock. They can know the situation about their liabilities. They can know the situation about who is owing them, and they can know the situation about what was their expenses for the past month. And by so doing, you can no longer obviously run a business in the dark. So you know exactly at any moment in time how your business is doing.
When you talk about running businesses in the dark, when we talk of corruption, when we talk of embezzlement, is this because people want to run businesses in the dark in order to profit in one way or the other? Are you in other way trying to say put a halt to those who will always want to make an extra franc out of the businesses they manage, maybe for others?
Well, let's first of all say that you know, the aim of running a business is to make profit. And obviously, depending on the nature of that business, you may be a business that is owned by shareholders, and the shareholders expect that business to do their optimum best to produce and generate the right profit for them so they can get value for their investment. And so the issue of someone trying to pocket, you know, money behind the scene or behind the back through any back or bad practices is something that the Azideriva Software stamps out completely.
Mm-hmm. The stamps out in the sense that the information you put in is the information you get out. And what if people turn around now to put in false information? It will surely bring out false information, right?
Well, you know, like within a computer system, you don't let the computer run itself. So you will have in place systems of doing the audit and system of doing what you call total management control. So any business implementing solutions will have steps to verify. Say, for example, your inventory is showing X amount of stock. There will be a stock controller who will be able to confirm those records. And if there are any mismatch, someone needs to account. And the system, like I say, automatically tracks and monitors any changes that anyone does in the system.
Doctor, when you look around today in Africa, to be precise, are you satisfied with the way computers are being used?
Perhaps to say satisfied may be an overstatement, I would think. But given the level where we started and where we are now, I think we're doing some progress, but I think the progress is quite slow. And I think compared to our other people from the other continents, we cannot afford to be left behind. So we need to redouble our effort and perhaps computerize our systems a lot much faster than we're doing at the moment.
Yeah, I say so because when you go to most offices today, in the secretariats, you find the secretaries on the computer apparently playing cards or some other games. You get into the chief executive officer's office, apparently he doesn't even know how to use a computer, but the computer is standing there in front of him like a toy. Who is to blame? The white man who brought the computer to us, or we who sort of took the computer without actually knowing what it is meant for?
Obviously, the blame goes to us because the computer was invented as a tool to facilitate business. And so if somebody is using it to do something other than business, that's something that the business that individual is working for need to address, because most companies around the world today, they have what you call the computer policy. And with that comes with a lot of strict rules of usage. So you can only use the computer to do company business. So playing cards is definitely out of the equation, and that employee needs to be disciplined in any ideal situation.
Don't you think that by introducing the computer to us without prior knowledge of what to do with it was some sort of putting the cart before the horse?
Personally, don't think so, because like I say, we shouldn't really be blaming anyone for introducing the computer to us. We should be fighting to copy what the others are doing. You know, if you look around the world, the emphasis on the trend is that, especially in today's world where information is highly available out there, people are researching day and night to get ahead of the others. So we shouldn't really be sitting behind, and you know, computers have been around now for so many years, and we will expect that we should have, you know, highly efficient institutions training young people to be highly computer efficient and be able to compete and build laboratories that compete with just any country.
Now that we still sit behind, because when you imagine the level of computer literate persons in our society, the percentage is still very low. What can be done to raise up this percentage?
I think we need to also try to demystify, you know, computers. So let the people know that, you know, computers are made by men, and so it's not something that is an abstract, and so it's not a difficult thing to learn. And if you have the courage, whether you're old or young, you know, and determined to learn about computers, you know, starting from the basics, you'll be able to master it within a very short time.
Now you are introducing a system which some people will see it as highly complicated. Have you taken time to, say, train people on how to use these systems before making them get into its usage?
Yes, our Azideriva, our policy is very simple. So whenever we have an engagement with a client, we start off with a demo. So we show them what the software is all about, and with emphasis on how that is going to help improve the way they're running their businesses. And we take the opportunity to also answer questions, and then we will install the software at their premises and give them the opportunity to appoint some key staff, which we can train. And then those staff will be able to learn how to use that computer, and from there on they can train their colleagues within that organization. And so far the emphasis and the feedback we've got is that all looks very good. And I could also add that since we introduced our first solution in 2009, the second and third solution coming up that I'm here to launch have actually been built with input and experience from what we had the first time. So we've cut a lot of unnecessary difficult steps and makes it so easy. So it's not a mere point and click and you go, and it's so simple.
Okay. Doctor, before we continue, we shall like to take a break here and get our reporter who will be coming in with back to the program. Doctor, in our week in brief, some of the major happenings of the week was the visit of our head of state, President Paul Biya, to France, in which he met with the French head of state. He also had time to discuss with the French business community, especially considering the fact that France has been a traditional business partner with Cameroon. Maybe this system, your system, is one of those systems that will help facilitate business transactions between France and Cameroon. Why not?
Oh yes, certainly. Like I said, with the Azideriva system, if you are dealing with the client that is somewhere away, the system automatically enables you to computerize all what you're doing. Say, for example, you are oil producer and you're selling to a customer in France. The system, the Azideriva Logistic Management and Financial Control System, enables you to be able to prepare an electronic invoice, for example, and the system automatically posts that invoice to your client in France, and your client in France can also respond by posting an email back for you to communicate with them in that way. Alternatively, you can print the invoice and fax to your client, or you can actually save the invoice as a file on your disk, and you can send it as an email attachment to your client. And so by so doing, you could see that doing business with somebody in France will be quite easy, because currently, imagine yourself having to take a piece of paper and write all your order, and then maybe fax it to someone in France who may not even be able to read it after you fax it from the handwriting. You see how complicated that would be without using an automated system like Azideriva.
That's the data interchange software system. Right?
Well, even the logistic itself also send out messages.
All right. Now, what do you make of this visit of our head of state to France at this moment?
I think it's a very positive gesture from the French president, and it shows the level of confidence that, I suppose, the international business community are having on the Cameroon. And I think the general impression in the rest of the world is that Africa is the next place to do an investment, because it's the only way is up. So other places are now saturated, like the European markets seem saturated, and a lot of investors will be looking to come into Africa. And I think that visit exposes Cameroon to the world media, and so people are now able to know about Cameroon, because obviously while the president is in France, there is quite a lot of coverage and a lot of attention. So I think that's a very positive thing for the country.
France has been in Cameroon, as we could recall, since pre-colonial days, for historians, for historical purposes, since 1919, when they took over trust territory to manage Cameroon east of the Mongo up to this present moment. And of course, the relationship has been moving from one step to the other, one generation to the other, up to this present moment. And the relationship apparently still waxing strong, even though there are some strong forces coming in now, like for instance, like from China, from the US, and so on. Quite a good competition. When you look at French investments in Cameroon today, do you think that there are some competitors who can sort of knock them out tomorrow?
Well, even if, to be honest with you, if you were to ask my personal opinion, I would tell you that, like in every situation, competition is a good thing, especially healthy competition. Say, for example, you are a seller out there, we have the resources to sell. So any investor coming here, we will have to, obviously, they need to submit their tenders, and we have to bid that process, be able to make sure that we examine the tender that is offering the country the best return of our resources. And I think competition, to me, is definitely a very good thing. So we can no longer rely on just one foreign investor to tell us what we should or should not do. So with the influx of people like the Chinese, the Americans, the French, the other European countries, can only be a good thing for us, because we can now decide in more absolute terms what we want from the sale of our resources.
But at one time, there was this issue whereby you need to give preference to your colonial master in order to keep the relationship going strong. Apparently, that idea is disappearing from Africa today.
I think that was obviously something that was meant to hold us on hook, because I cannot see how you have some, when we go to Europe to buy, I don't think the same can apply. So I think in an open market, the world now is a global village, like I say. You don't just need to sell in Europe, you can sell in Asia, you can sell in North America, South America, and why not? So if you have something to offer, and it's all about trade-off. When we sell to, former colonial master or not former colonial master, what do we get in return? So you got to make sure you balance everything. Sometimes, in business, sometimes it's not just the price. It's also what you get in return of that offer that you're giving on the table.
And that leads me, Doctor, to this question. There is this economic paradox whereby Africa, or the third world generally, that produces all the raw materials that industrialists use to transform and send back to us, always give their products out at a giveaway price. And in return, the finished products that are sent to us are sold at exorbitant prices. In other words, they determine the prices of our raw material, and when they finish the raw material and send back to us, they determine the prices of what they sell to us. Is this really fair business?
No, I think it's not fair. And you have already organizations out there like the Fair Trade Organization that is helping to address some of these issues. But I think we Africans shouldn't just be leaving it to organizations like the Fair Trade to be debating these issues. We should be doing that ourselves and be seeing that obviously we have the resources, and we should also be looking at ways of processing those resources ourselves. There's no reason why you have to send your resources abroad to be processed and then bring back to you. You could build your own industry. You have to start somewhere.
Processing the resources means heavy machinery, which it is only the white man that produces those machinery and send to us. If they refuse to send us those machines, we cannot process.
I don't think they can refuse to send us those machines, and
maybe they send it, they want to man it, or they decide. They decide that we'll continue to process and send to us like they are doing. Even though we have some of we have industries, we have transformation industries today, but apparently they are not as functional as they should be.
I think it would be wrong for us to blame our problems on the white man, because in those days we used to blame the white man because obviously we were very far back. But now with the advancement of the communication technology, the world is now an open place. We see how these things are done. Why can't we do ours? Just like the Azideriva logistics solution is being done here by Cameroonian. Why can't we do the same in similar fields and get our country moving in the right direction? So we have to stop depending on on foreign people, because we cannot imagine or expect foreign people to develop our continent. So we have to do it ourselves.
Do you think we can actually stop depending on them?
I think we should be able to stop, but then again,
can they also stop depending on us?
That was what I wanted to say. We have the raw materials, they have the technology. So all we need to do is try and find a common ground. Say, for example, if they're coming to mine away key resources, the arrangement should be simple. You mine half, repair half, or process half here before you take the rest abroad. And by so doing, they will transfer some of the technology to our local people. And so in the long run, we should be able to do those processes from start to finish. And when I mean processes, I mean be able to mine those minerals, convert them to mobile phones or whatever it is, and sell the actual products. And that's how we're going to be able to employ our youths. That's how we're going to be able to develop our country.
Let's talk now about this data interchange software and services which you are about to introduce. how beneficial is it to the business community?
Oh, that solution is quite good for the country, also for the business community, and it should be quite useful for anyone that is involved in data exchange. Say, for example, you are a bank involved in doing money transfer, so that interchange will enable you to be able to manage the process of sending and collecting money. It will also enable you manage the network of your agents that is doing all the money sending and collection for you. And it also enables the bank to process charges, be able to do all the accounting activities that goes on behind the scene, and do all the reconciliations of within the process of sending and receiving money. And also, that's not really all, because, like I say, if you are a bank or you are a business, you have sub-branches, you have head office somewhere else, and you get branch office elsewhere. You know, that solution enables head office and the branches to communicate seamlessly without any issues and exchange data between themselves. And by so doing, you run the business without needing to rely on the postman.
You certainly want to send some people out of the job market, and in a situation where we are having a problem of unemployment.
I don't think automation is about taking the job from the people, because you still need people to man the automatic.
But very few this time, not as many as in the past.
Well, I think let's try and be honest here, because at the end of the day, you know, like I mentioned earlier about someone manufacturing soap and selling it. If you can imagine how tedious it is to have to record all that process manually by hand, go through a big shop, like, you know, somebody selling a massive building material shop. They don't even know what their stock inventory is, because every day somebody will go there with a pen and paper and tick what is there or mark what is there. That's obviously not the right way to do business, because that is prone with a lot of errors. It's prone with a lot of fraud, because you don't even know what stock you got at the start of the day, and you don't even know what you got at the end of the day. So people can easily mismanage the situation in that particular manner if it's not done carefully.
Now, let me find out from you, Doctor, where should our development focus be focused now? Is it should it be focused at say developing that rice field in Sancho or Tonga or Indop, or should it be seeing how we can sustainably use the forests we have in the east? Where is our focus? Is it now the technology of transforming, or the technology of expanding first what we have before coming to the technology of the computer?
I think we need to do a mixture of both, because first of all, we need to feed ourselves and be self-sufficient in terms of the food supply that we've got. And so improving and mechanizing the way we do our farming is one key aspect that needs to be improved. And so if we can produce enough and even sell to our neighbors, that's a very good thing, because the farmers now have more income to be able to sustain their life in a more highly economic manner. And also the technology is something that you cannot really negotiate, because you know, unless you want to live in an island, if Cameroon have to be open up to the rest of the world to trade, we're talking about bringing in foreign investors. Those investors need to be confident that they have the right technology in place to be able to communicate with their other offices around the world. Say, for example, most international companies, you know, they work in a global way, round the clock, 24 hours. So if they have an office in Cameroon and they have employees in Cameroon, they expect those employees to join meetings across the world. They expect those employees in Cameroon to log on to systems and be able to do work with their colleagues in America, in Europe, in Asia at the same time. So to do that, they need technology in place. And that's something we cannot really negotiate, really. It's something that must be done.
Yeah. The problem with us today is especially the rural farmers, because we are essentially rural today. The problem with them today is that when they produce, they sell the best harvest and they consume the crumbs. Can this situation be reversed?
I think that is very normal. Even in European countries, you know, the farmers has to make sure that what they are presenting to the supermarket clients is up to the standard that the client wants. But at the same time, I think the emphasis should actually be whether we should be spending too much of our quality time producing crops that we don't use, while our people starve. So I would think we should try and strike a good balance. You know, while we produce too much cash crop to earn money, we should also be looking at producing those crops that we need at home as well.
Can you really be producing for the market can you really be producing for the stomach when you know that when you need a tablet of aspirin or you need a liter of oil, you will not be able to buy it?
Well, I think the issue all comes down to how much you are producing. And the which now comes down to what is the solution. So the solution should be to, like I said, mechanize most of our farming activities, and train the farmers. For example, you know, some of the farmers don't even know that if you go behind your house and you dig a well, you can have water. And without water, you can water your crops, and you don't need to wait for the rain to fall before your crops are watered. And by so doing, your harvest would increase. So you will not just have enough to eat, you could have an abundance to be able to sell and still be able to maintain your family. So the issue here is about what is the production level, and we can improve that.
Are you also maybe researching into some information and communication technology that can sort of help our rural population think of improving their lifestyles through from the subsistence circle they find themselves in today?
It's absolutely, like I say, most of our Azideriva solutions are built on our messaging framework, which is something that enables endless communication with all the different parties, depending on how you want to use it. You know, for example, the logistics solution enables businesses to be able to send purchase order to people by text. Say, for example, you are a business that you are responsible for, or you are involved in selling goods. Say, for example, you sell plantains, you sell yam, you sell cocoa yams. You can simply use the Azideriva solution to send a text message to somebody in Bafusam and say, I need 20 bags of cocoa yams, I need 10 bunches of plantains, and they will supply that to you. So the farmer with a mobile phone is able to receive an order from the client, and is able to process that order and maybe load a Land Rover and send the goods down. So that's something that we think is a major step in what we're trying to achieve.
Okay. So we'll take yet another break, and this time we shall be having Ajara Ali, who will be giving us our human interest story of the week. We shall be right. Cameroon is a bilingual country. It has been a bilingual country since independence, and this time around we are celebrating bilingualism with a whole week of activities to mark this day. As a Cameroonian, do you enjoy the Cameroonian status of a bilingual country?
Obviously, being able to speak multi-languages is a good thing, but it's just how you manage the whole thing that could perhaps be problematic to some, as well as maybe be a hindrance to others. But I think overall, being bilingual is definitely a positive thing.
Is bilingual really positive in Cameroon today? Is it a positive thing?
It just depends how you want to see it, but I think that there are a lot of aspects that could be done better. Like, for example, you know, the people providing the services to me ought to be the people that need to show an example of bilingualism. Say, for example, when I landed at the airport, all the officers on duty, you know, they didn't seem to understand English. I don't understand French, you know, and I think the onus is on the person providing the service to try and understand English first. And the same thing applies to, say, for example, is an English officer who is serving a French community. I think the onus should be on that English officer to understand French.
If we were to go back, say, on the drawing board to redefine bilingualism in Cameroon today, say, for instance, our children who are in nursery school, how should they tackle it in order to be perfectly bilingual tomorrow?
I think they have to make sure they give equal emphasis to the two languages if they want the children to obviously learn. But at the same time, you also have to know what, you know, I think, like I say, initially, the children could be allowed to be taught equally. But as they grow older, I think they should give them a bit more leeway to be able to choose which one they wish. But yeah, because the world out there is all going to be a different ball game for them.
Now, when Ahijo took the power in the 60s, his intention was to make Cameroonians perfectly bilingual. That means a Cameroonian should be able to speak and understand both languages perfectly. And this led to the creation of bilingual colleges like the one in Moliko Boya, the one in Yaoundé. But apparently that system was short-lived. And do you think that such a system encouraged today can be serviceable to the Cameroonians?
Absolutely, because normally what the administrators do is that on paper they have very good policies. They create those schools, but then the next step that involve actually making sure that that school is well staffed by both set of teachers. I mean, teachers for French and teachers for English. You don't often see that as the case. So you tend to have an imbalance of either French or English teachers in the school. So at the end of the day, the two are not really balancing up. So some students are graduating more with English and some are graduating more with French. So I think the overall situation is to ensure that when we create this institution, we staff them properly.
Do you think that the reason why French is dominant in our society today is due to the fact that the Francophones are numerically more than the Anglophones?
I think that will obviously play a part as well, because the majority tend to drive the minority in most cases. But I'm sure there are ways that we could better address that, because if you look at it, you know, I'm a parent, I have children, and I have to be honest with you, the world of the language of international business tend to be English. So I wouldn't obviously hide the fact that I would rather, you know, we balance things out properly with the main focus on what will be good for the child at the end of the day.
And our constitution states it very clearly that all official documents are supposed to be in French and English, but most often we see them just in one language, the French. And beyond that, we have one of the best schools for translators and interpreters in Africa, but apparently we still don't make good use of it, especially those interpreters that graduate from that school in Boya.
I think, again, it all comes down to, you know, we have good policy, we have the constitution. It all comes down to people making sure that if you're a manager at an office, you are the chief of service or whatever it is, you should take the responsibility to make sure that if you're issuing a statement, you issue it to all the parties. So, yeah, maybe sometimes it's easier for them to just write in the language they know, but I think it should be their duty to ensure that all languages are catered. Yeah.
Does your software system speak French or English?
My software at the moment is English, but we always translate to our French customers. Yeah.
And do you think they will grasp the knowledge to the extent that they can effectively use it without error?
Yes, like I said, the software is designed in a way that the user have absolute control with what they do. Say, for example, if you are recording your inventory, we don't decide what language you record that inventory in. So you can record your inventory in French, you can record it in English, even German, whatever language you want. So there's no limitation.
The development of the computer brought in a new terminology, hacking. And it is widespread today. Do you think hacking can ever be scaled back, or should I say stopped completely?
It can never be stopped completely, but I think it's not as bad as it seems, because we tend to report, or people tend to report the worst cases, and that's what seems to stick in people's mind. But I'm sure about 99 to 98% of the time, transactions go freely without any people hacking onto it. And I think that should not override the overall advantage of using a computer. Yeah.
And do you think that for the simple reason that people are able to hack, don't you think that the more scientists develop ways of securing it, the more hackers will continue to, say, decipher ways of hacking into information that has been highly secured?
That's correct. But then again, you know, most software providers and computer providers at the moment, they are more or less making sure that they stay on top of the game, so is that the hackers are only coming from behind. But you cannot absolutely say you can stop hacking. It's just that we need to now manage our systems more carefully and be able to put in place a system to monitor hacking, so that if something happens, at least you know, and you can take the necessary step to address it.
Yeah, you talk of managing more carefully. How careful can one be careful in order to avoid errors?
Well, it's by making sure you have, first of all, you have total quality control processes in place, so that if, you know, quality check, systems of checking whatever somebody else is doing, so you don't just assume that somebody's using a computer, you know, you leave them on just by themselves to use a computer. You have to have in place processes that are meant to audit whatever that individual is doing, so that if there are issues, you could easily pick them up before they go downstream and begin to cause you problems.
And do you think that today we are sufficiently updated, educated on how we can sort of bring in these checks and balances in order to avoid? Because each time when someone hears about hacking, that's getting into someone's private account, whereas no one had given you the code, the secret code. There is the fear that, especially with monetary affairs, there is that fear that maybe by keeping my money through that system, someone can just get up one nice morning and my account is empty.
I think that is obviously an over-exaggeration of the situation, like I said earlier. You know, the advantages completely outweighs those little fears. And I think most banks these days, they have a very highly secure firewall behind their, which surround their systems. So it's not easy for hackers to get in. And like I said, with that, in addition to the additional checks and balances, and obviously people should check their accounts regularly and report to their banks whenever issues occur. And so they could get them fixed immediately. But you hardly hear of such cases. Yeah.
So you've just launched a new system in Cameroon. Let's get, what feedback did you get from the old system that you're coming in with a new one just about 3-4 years after?
Oh, the feedback I get from the customers, existing customers, is that the system has dramatically improved the way they manage their businesses, and they're quite easy now and very relaxed. Customers are quite happy because, for example, a customer can walk into the bank branch now and request to see their account statement, which detail all the itemized transactions that they've done over the period, and they're able to take that home with them if they want. And another example is when a customer comes in to, say, apply for a loan, for example, the Azideriva system automatically processes that loan application. The customer knows immediately what charges they are being charged, what is the fee they need to pay, you know, what is the installments they are going to be repaying that loan for, and how long will that loan take. And that's not all. The system also automatically manages the process of paying that loan by installments automatically without the user having to do anything.
Too much automation makes life artificial, am I right?
Well, to a way, but it depends, because the aim for automation is not about being artificial. It's about improving and increasing efficiency, eliminating errors, and making sure that you know, you are by par, working at a par by your banking colleagues across the world, so you can standardize every process of your business.
Yeah, not just in the bank, not just financially. Take for instance a doctor who is in Cameroon working online with another doctor who maybe is in India. That physical contact, don't you think it has some sort of a psychological impact on the relationship?
It does have an impact, but it's still better than you having to not communicate at all. Say, for example, you are a doctor in a hospital, you come across a difficult patient, and you are able to immediately log on online and communicate with your colleague in India who might have seen similar situation in his hospital, and he writes you back and say, oh yeah, we saw that situation, this is the treatment we gave the patient, and the patient recovered. I think that is a lot more better than you having to not do it.
Now, and is there any margin of error in such technological advances?
Well, like any other thing, we always allow the human to take the final decision. So even after the doctor have done all that research, the doctor still have to take the final decision based on his own judgment. It's just an additional tool to supplement and help the doctor get as much information as possible to be able to decide from that information what is the best next step to take.
And what is Azideriva doing in that connection? Or you are basically focused on business and securing money and things like that?
Well, like I say, we are aggressively adding into our portfolio of solutions. We started in 2009 with just the banking solution. I came this week to add 2 additional solutions, the logistic management and financial control, as well as the data interchange. And I'm sure by the time I come again in another year, I should have something else. Yeah. And
how can Cameroonians say, besides just making use of your solutions, how can Cameroonians, what will you advise Cameroonians who wants to get into this form of research this form of technology to develop and also do what you're doing?
Well, you just have to tell them that they should know that, like every other thing, you know, man, we used to see going to the moon as something that is challenging, but man has gone to the moon and come back. So if they see a computer or building a software to do anything as a challenging thing, they should think that the man has gone to the moon and come back and they can do the same. So it's not a privilege for anyone to be able to do it. It's not a privilege for any continent, not a privilege for any country.
As we are discussing here now, our parents back in the village watching us will see it as some form of magic, witchcraft, something like that. Imagining the impossibility which has been made today possible. With time, do you think that this technology can be made in such a way that it will no longer be seen as witchcraft, as the white man's magic and things like that?
Absolutely. The more people like myself come forward and get things done, and people see that they themselves can do, it's not just a white man thing, I'm sure it will give a lot of people confidence to be able to, you know, wake up one day and say, me too want to perhaps start a business, do something for themselves and help themselves. Yeah.
And do you think it can sort of, because computer displaying with the computer is sort of fun to some people today, do you think that it could one day maybe derail the agricultural mentality that we have today into computer mentality?
I don't think so, because even in the industrialized world, we still have farmers, we still have all people from all walks of lives. There are people that use the computer, but they don't really know how to program. So, you know, I think majority of the cases, people are just there to use it. And they still go along doing their normal day-to-day business. And then, you know, but I think to say you can do without the computers now is something that you can forget it. You need the computers.
Now, we need the computer effectively, but apparently it is still a luxury to most people in the third world. Cameroon is not left out.
I think that's quite a sad situation, and I think we should be looking to improve on that, because like I say, you know, you want our young people to grow up knowing how to use the computer. Like if you go into a local school in London, for example, the children are able to log on to the computer and do all things. Even right from, you know, 4-year-olds can use the computer. So we want to be able to get our people to the level that it's not just a privileged class that use the computer, but everybody, including children in villages, being able to log on and know what the computer is all about.
Well, televiewers, we shall be taking another break now, and this time we shall be having this lady from the Adamawa region who is reacting. You're welcome back. Doctor, the youth in Cameroon shall be celebrating another Youth Day come February 11, a day they have been celebrating for quite some time. It's over 40 years they've been celebrating the Youth Day. And the youth, it's a social denomination that is always complaining about their parents, complaining about archaic ways, complaining about things that they feel should be done otherwise in society. When the youth complain, for instance, your son or daughter, when she complains that what you are doing should not be done today, do you take it lightly or you take it seriously?
No, I take it seriously, because obviously, you know, they are the future. And we have to make sure that whatever the youths that we train and bring up reflects what future we want our country to look like. Yeah,
they are always, they say we always say that they are the future, but we block it in such a way that they really don't see the future in which they have to live.
I think we just need to make sure we try and encourage our youths and get them to see that we lead by examples. So if we want the youth to be corruption-free, we should be staying away from corruption ourselves altogether, because it is, you know, what the child see growing up that they tend to think is the norm. Because most children, you know, like you and I didn't learn how to speak. We simply watch our parents speak and we speak along. So if a child grows up seeing people, you know, grow in an environment where corruption is so ripe, they're bound to think that corruption is a normal thing. So we need to be like adults. We need to lead by example, make sure that we, you know, we pass the right examples to our children.
And which are some of those right examples which you think, besides a corruption-free society, how should we really bring up our children to be responsible and development-conscious citizens tomorrow?
I think we need to first of all train our youths to be, you know, patriotic, They have to know that, what belongs to the country, and if the country is moving forward, it's a lot better than one individual being greedy and obviously not working in the interest of everyone. So we need to improve our communal spirit, so improve teamwork at school. So that's what the children will need when they go to work anyway. Because at work, you need to work as a team. One individual can't run a whole office. So you need to improve that communal spirit, be able to give them that sense of belonging to the community, be able to give them the environment for them to excel, without any limitation really, so that they can go out there and fulfill all their full potential.
And you talk of patriotism. Are we really patriotic today?
It depends how you say, from what perspective. But I think that no country will move forward if the people are not patriotic.
And will you say that Cameroon is moving forward?
Obviously, Cameroon is moving forward. But then, again, you will ask the question at what rate? So things could be done better. Like every other country, we are an emerging country and we're learning. But I think we should learn fast, because if we don't, we will get left behind.
By the information and communication technology.
That in addition to other things. So we need to make sure we develop as a people, and we develop as a nation, and be able to learn from our mistakes, because he who doesn't learn from their mistake is doomed to fail.
What aspects of development should we be focusing on at this moment?
We should be focusing on those development aspects that encourage the creation of jobs, so we can take our youths off the street, give them a future, give them the opportunity to, like I say, be able to fulfill their full potentials. And we should also be looking at making sure that we put in place the right infrastructure to be able to train our youths. We talked earlier about not having the right mechanism or the right machinery to do things, but I think that all comes down to ourselves, because the Europeans did not just become Europe, the Americans did not just become American, the Chinese did not just become developed. They have to work on what they've done. And why can't we do the same?
Now, you talk of training. What form of training should we be giving our young generation today?
I think we should give them the kind of training that would help them to meet the world challenges of today. Because the world of today is no longer the world that our grandparents used to be able to wake up, go to the farm, harvest mango, cut some more plantains here and eat, and then they drink their palm wine and they sleep. We can no longer do that. The world now is highly competitive, which means the children have to be able to adapt very quickly. And that means we have to train people to be able to invent, be able to be creative, be able to think on their feet rather than being theoretical. I'll just give you a simple example myself. When I left to England, when I finished my A-levels, I realized that even though I was very clever, I had a limitation that when I go into the laboratory to set up things, that my white colleagues was something that was more challenging for me than them, even though, if you come to the theory, I was well ahead. And that reflects the level of training that I had, which was more focused on theoretical aspects of science than the actual practical aspects.
And are you, in other words, suggesting that our educational system should be oriented towards more practice and less theory?
That's correct. And I also advocate that they should teach more on the aspect of appropriate technology. That's technology that addresses the need of the people, as opposed to just learning. If you're learning about a machine, learn about a machine that will help you increase farm production, for example, or a machine that will help you solve immediate local problems. Like in the country today, most roads are impassable during the rain. So the students will learn appropriate technology, how to be able to produce local cements, for example, build their own roads using local cements. You don't need to rely on the normal Portland cement to build. You can produce local cement from appropriate technology. And that's the kind of research they should be teaching at universities. Children should do final year projects, for example, on such things. Go to the field, examine and do things, be able to do things that have meaningful impact, rather than just studying theoretical physics, theoretical chemistry, that really don't lead them anywhere.
And that reminds me, this question of copy work. For instance, you stand in class today as a teacher, as a lecturer, you lecture students, and at the end of the day, you want those students to reproduce what you lecture them. Is that really an advisable form of education?
Not at all, not at all. You got to let the student think. And like I said, depending on whatever you're doing, there's never a right or wrong answer in most, either science or engineering, even though you need to be precise. But it's always nice if the student can think and you can let them, answer the question in whatever angle they wish to approach it, and you judge them fairly.
And talking about practical teachings, We'll take the example of children, especially in the rural areas. You go there, you see a technical college with no machines, and they are expected to do maybe carpentry, building, and what a few, yet no machines. Do you think that by introducing those machines to them, maybe their reasoning, say by seeing the machines actually functioning, can it effectively relate in their minds what they are seeing for better results?
Oh, absolutely. If you know, there's a very, very, very. In fact, you can't even compare the difference between theory and the actual practical situation. You know, no matter how much theory you do, you know, if you sit in front of a computer, you've done theory all your life, you never touch a computer. You know, no matter how much theory you know about a computer, it's a totally different ball game operating that computer. So I think if the children were to have all those equipment at their disposal, it's going to help them a great deal to think more practical and be able to even use those machines to do experiments, because it's not just about those machines, it's about what the students do, what work they do on those machines. They're able to be allowed to have free time on those machines to do creative work. That's the key thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's come back to this our Azideriva solution and look at this idea of treasury management application, which helps finance organizations to easily incorporate mobile money, as you say. Can you briefly tell us how it works?
Yes, it works very simple. What it is normally, during the process of sending and collecting money, you need an agent to either pay out or receive the money. And when the money is paid in, you need a communication facility that you will securely transmit whatever information you want to send to the receiving party, as well as the payout agent or the sending party, or whatever reconciliation processes you have in place. So what the Azideriva solution does is it provides the framework and the tool that enable banks or anyone else that is an agent of who is doing money transfer to be able to manage that process, be able to manage how much charges they collect, be able to manage their reconciliation. For example, if send money has been received, how do you reconcile your books? The system enables you to do that. You've collected charges, how do you manage them? The system enables you to do that. And at the end of the day, you're able to do all your reporting, including the bank statement, the balance sheets, and all the co-bank reporting framework that is expected of that particular transaction.
If a machine should already be doing that now, what is the use of an accountant?
I think you still have the accountant to look at to oversee the process, because, like I say, you know, it's when you do a business, you need a lot of step of quality control to make sure that none of those processes is breaking up, because the machine could break up and you carry on as normal without noticing. So you need an accountant to keep an eye.
Mm-hmm. But from the way you explain, apparently in future, you don't need to go very deep into accounting in order to be able to carry out these transactions.
Well, in a way, that seems correct. That's correct, because you know, the computer is there to do all the necessary work, and the human is only there now to cross-check and make sure that you know, they're happy with it, just to make sure that the computer didn't skip a line. But yeah, that's...
Yeah, and I come back to the question, in future, do you think an accountant will really be necessary if a machine can already carry out this exercise for you and you just see the figures appearing?
I think you still need an accountant to make sure that the figures tie up with what you should expect, because even in a highly industrialized banking system like the financial center in London, you still have accounting department that oversee what the machine has done, because you can't let the machine run wild. Yeah.
We'll take yet another break, and this time we shall be bringing you our letter. We shall be signing out of our discussion very soon. You are so far established in London and in Cameroon. Do you foresee establishing in other countries?
Yes, my initial plan was to come to Cameroon being my country of birth. I've done that now, and the business seems to be picking up now, and we're building up our client portfolio here, and we have an office in Boya, which with our staff running the support for the existing customer as well as trying to get new ones. And I think now is the time has come for me to take the business to another African country and expand.
What actually pushed you to take interest in this information and communication technology aspect?
I think my key aim here is to be able to take part in nation building And I felt that I've been living abroad now for 23 years. I've learned a lot working with large institutions, large banks, large companies. And I felt that I've learned a lot. And what is the point having too much knowledge in your head while your own country is lacking behind? So I felt that by coming back and engaging my country, building these solutions, I'm going to be obviously contributing to nation building, contributing to taking Cameroon to the next step, which is to put Cameroon as an emerging country within the next 20 to 15 years, as by 2035.
How did you get into it?
Well, I guess it's a difficult question to ask, but anybody that has a conscience and have the knowledge will want to share it. That's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were growing up as a child, where was your passion?
My passion has always been on patriotism, because my mother always teach me to think about other people before myself. Mm-hmm. So no matter what I do, think about where you come from. Even when I was living to Europe, she always tell me to think of where I come from, mm-hmm. and I always done that.
And when you were going to Europe, did you ever have in mind that you one day come up with a solution like this, or you were going just to tap knowledge and maybe come back and start distributing to other Cameroonians in the classroom?
I think I left quite young, so at that particular moment, I would never have dreamed that I'll come back and do this, but you never know where God takes you. So as time goes on, I began to realize that I could be of use to my country, mm-hmm. and I could obviously come back with things that will help, like I say, build my country and make sure we improve our standards and improve the IT communication that will help us develop and grow our businesses without having to rely on the old-fashioned way of using pen and paper.
So you will say that it's destiny that directed you into this field?
I would say that I believe all what I'm doing is coming from God, so God helps me, and I should be able to carry on. Mm. Yeah.
So what advice do you have for Cameroonians who are watching us now and maybe admiring what you've done, and maybe why not want to do it tomorrow?
Well, I encourage them to, like I said, to not always know that the sky is the limit. So, you know, these things have been done before. I'm not the first, and they shouldn't think that they can do it as well. So they should get up, be determined, and work hard, and you know, never take a no for a yes. You know, never take failure for an answer. Just forward, positive forward, and backward never, really.
Televiewers, that will be where we conclude today's edition of the program, in which we had Dr. William Tasong, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Azideriva Solutions firm that has come in with some solutions to help you improve on your business. And of course, we like you to take the rendezvous for Sunday next week, while saying thank you very much, Dr. Tasong, for coming.
Thank you too, and it's been a pleasure meeting you and your staff.
We enjoyed your company, and we do hope that next time when you're around, you will be with us.
I certainly will, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.